What's up, Home Slice? This is Kiara with Home Slice Adulting, coming to you with my review for the 4th episode of Real Housewives of Atlanta. I want to say happy belated Thanksgiving to everyone. Hopefully everyone can think of things that they are grateful for, and a spirit of Thanksgiving is really missing in the world today. But anyways, let's go ahead and get started with this review. I just watched the episode, and hopefully this review won't be very long. But things finally got a little spiced up on Real Housewives. It's episode number 4 or 5, whichever episode it is, and now things are finally getting a little spicy after 3 basically introductory episodes. So let's get started with Nene. They come home from the hospital with Greg. Greg has heart problems and he says Nene wore him out, which, you know, is plausible. But next we see Nene with Monique, whose name is spelled Mynique. If y'all remember her from season number 6, we haven't seen her in like 4 years. Nene's nose, y'all, has gotten bigger. We knew she had some more work done, but it's like typically when people get their noses done, they want them to look smaller. Nene's looks like chunkier, like bigger, but whatever. Apparently she's having a girls and gays event where the girls who are invited bring one gay friend, and I'm like, this is supposed to be for Greg, or is this party supposed to be for you? Because nothing about a girls and gays event says Greg to me. But apparently Greg was okay with her having the party because Greg wants her to take her mind off of his sickness instead of his mind being taken off of his sickness. Okay, whatever. Anyways, she brings over a friend named Brandon, and now she has a girl and a gay to help her plan her girls and gays party. But anyway, Portia apparently forgot about visiting Nene's house. I don't get the reference on that. If you know what she's talking about, apparently Portia was over there, and there's a picture of Portia being over there with Nene and Mynique / Monique. But Portia said something about not being over there. I don't know, whatever. Moving on. And Nene says that Portia has dirty hands, but is trying to wash her hands of the whole situation with Candy and Phaedra, and you know, trying to make Candy look bad. And it's like, I feel like she's using that as an excuse to not be cool with Portia, because that situation has very little to do with Nene. But on the other hand, I do feel like if I had a friend who did something like that, that I probably wouldn't want to be friends with them either. Moving on, we'll talk about Sheree. She has her second session with her life coach, Jack Daniels. He comes over to the house, and Sheree says she feels ashamed about the abuse, and that's why she still hasn't talked to her children. She says that, you know, she tries to teach her children values about how people should treat them and that they should always be respected, but she didn't follow her own, you know, advice, and so she feels ashamed. And Jack Daniels says talking about it is about releasing it and, you know, not having it being held in. So apparently the Coalition for Abuse, something like that, contacted Sheree about being an ambassador. And, you know, Sheree is aware that she can't be a spokesperson if she can't even talk to her children about it. So she says she's going to tell her kids within the next couple weeks, and she didn't listen to Iyanla, so I'm happy that she's listening to Jack Daniels. Anyways, later on we see Sheree pull up at Kim's house, and Kim's house is very nice. I think that Kim is running Kroy's wallet into the ground. I'm not sure how Kim brings any income in, and I'm actually not sure how Kroy brings any income in, because is he still playing? And even if he is, can he afford to support a wife who is extravagant, 6 kids, and a house that big with however many fancy cars they have? Something in that milk ain't clean, while Kim's talking about Kenya's milk, but we'll talk about that later on. Anyways, Kim looks extra plastic. I mean, she always looked like she had some surgery, but now it's just worse because her lips are plumper and her nose is different. And her daughter, whichever the oldest daughter is it Brielle's the oldest daughter? It looks just like her mom with plastic surgery and all that kind of stuff. And it's kind of a shame. But anyways, Sheree's shirt is a dog with a bone on it, and that is freaking hilarious because it's very indicative of the kind of person she is. But Kenya and Kim don't get along. Again, I still have not finished watching the end of the previous season, so I don't know the extent of their arguments or whatever, but they clearly don't like each other. And I felt like Sheree was being quite shady with Kim about Kenya when we had just seen Sheree and Kenya hanging out. So I thought that was very weird, and this was the first time in this season that Sheree kind of got the side eye from me for shading Kenya, even though they're trying to like build up their friendship. And Kim talked about Kenya's 46 or 48-year-old eggs, and I hope she's not trying to have kids there. And Kim does seem extra concerned about Kenya's life, which she feels is a lie. But anyways, we'll talk about Kandi. Kandi has been, you know, given the opportunity to grace the cover of Essence magazine, and Kandi is very excited about that. And while getting the cover magazine is super cool, who buys magazines anymore? There has to be some kind of way to transition a cover of a magazine to something different, to a different medium or something like that, because it's definitely not cool to be on the cover of a magazine anymore. But anyways, Riley is getting older, and she's lost, I don't know if she did the last season, but she's lost like that kind of baby fat look, and she actually is looking very shapely these days. And she was wearing makeup, and she's transitioning from, you know, a little girl to a young woman. It was interesting to see. And apparently there's no room at the inn in New York because all of the hotels are booked up. And Kandi asked about Trump Towers. Kandi is not funny to me, but that was an okay joke. And she goes to the fashion shoot. We see Todd being a proud husband. And I'm looking at the clothes that they're giving her, the fashions that she's wearing, and I hate them. Not hate. I don't like them. Nothing about those particular clothes was magazine cover worthy to me, or photo shoot worthy to me. It felt like they asked her to bring stuff from her own closet for her to wear, because they were very indicative of how Kandi doesn't really dress all that well. And while I am not a fashion expert, I feel like the clothes were too indicative of her everyday life, of what she would wear in her everyday life, and not fancy enough to be on the cover of Essence. But whatever, moving on, we see Cynthia, and she meets Will for ice cream. And the date is flirty and cute, but Will is a little bit more forward this time when he talks about the strawberries and, you know, is inviting himself over to Lake Bailey. But apparently Will is a subject in the blogs because, I mean, this is date number 2. How is he already in the blogs? Something about this isn't right. They show a picture of Quad and her husband from Married to Medicine with Cynthia and Will. And it's like, when was that party? Why is he in the blogs already when you all have only officially had 2 dates and you're on the second one? Something about that wasn't really right to me, but whatever. Like I said, he invited himself to Lake Bailey, and Cynthia was like, well, if things keep going well, you can come over and I'll cook for you. It's cute. I like them together, but something about Will doesn't feel right for me, considering how much of a gentleman he was on the first date and how forward he was kind of being on this second little ice cream date. But we'll see. I'll give him another chance. Next we see Portia. Apparently she hadn't spoken to her sister for a whole weekend since she had that little argument with her during their business meeting. Apparently Lauren wants to preserve Portia's feelings, and that's the thing that I was talking about last time. Portia is the person who has always had people do stuff for her, and so people feel like they have to shield their own personal emotions to preserve Portia's feelings, and they really shouldn't have to do that. Don't walk on eggshells around Portia because Portia can't do this for herself, or Portia is not emotionally together enough to handle this, or I don't want to stress Portia out. Who cares? Just say how you really feel. Anyways, Lauren feels like when Portia's businesses get to a certain level and to a certain extent, that Portia will leave Lauren behind because Lauren does not have the appropriate skills to continue to grow their business, even though Lauren has been the one on the, you know, the ground floor, getting in on the ground floor, doing all the work to help build the business up. And Portia has to let her know that I'll never leave you behind. You'll never have to question. You will be mine. You will be mine. You will be mine. Saturday love. It's just like, I'll never leave you behind. You'll never have to question that you will always be here with me, and that this whole building an empire thing is for us. But I understand what Lauren is saying, because a lot of people who go into business with their family members, who have family members who are more of the face of the company, always worry about their position when the company gets bigger. So I get where Lauren was coming from, because she felt like she didn't really have anything of her own in the event that Portia did decide to leave her behind. So they make up or whatever. It's what sisters do, and that's the extent that we saw Portia this time around. And Portia does not care that she isn't invited to Nene's party. So moving on, we see Kenya, and she invites Sheree out, and Sheree wears a size 10 shoe. Who knew? But they go to a fun spin class, which looks really cool and challenging, and Kenya thinks that she's in better shape than Sheree. I don't think anybody agrees with that. There's nobody, I don't think anybody who agrees with that. With the SpongeBob SquarePants shaped booty on Kenya, I don't think anybody believes that's natural. Everything about Sheree's looks and her level of fitness appears to be natural, and like she really worked for it. Kenya, on the other hand, not so much. So I thought it was real weird that she shaded Sheree about being the fittest. That Kenya's definitely not the fittest. Anyways, Sheree's wearing makeup to her workout. I felt like that was a little weird. But Kenya said that she's creating a PSA on domestic violence. What is it about Kenya and her independent projects? Like the Gone with the Wind Fabulous thing, and, you know, her, the TV show pilot that she was you know, putting together. Like, Kenya does a lot of independent projects that go nowhere. Because she recently found out that Sheree was abused by Bob, she felt like putting their, you know, Real Housewives of Atlanta star power together would make the PSA better. And like I said, the PSA seems like it's for a great cause, but I always feel like Kenya's little independent projects never really work out for her. So whatever. Anyways, Sheree says she's been contacted by the Coalition for Abuse, and they're asking her to be an ambassador, and she just wants to verify that it's not going to be a conflict of interest. But to me, it seemed like Sheree really didn't want to do it, but whatever. Lastly, we'll talk about Nene's party. Apparently, it's a girls and gays never forget all white party seafood soiree. How many themes can you throw into one party? Nene managed to get 4. First is the girls and gays. Then it's all white. And then, wait, never forget. Never forget that it's a never forget party. And then it's also a seafood soiree. Okay, so what the heck? How many themes can you have? Anyways, I feel like nothing about this party says, get well, Greg. But Marlo shows up. Apparently, Nene and Marlo hadn't talked to each other in about 4 years. And then one day they met up in the mall. The mall valet. Like, there's a valet at the mall. I feel like that's what she said. Apparently, they argued for 30 minutes. And now they're kind of back on good terms. Nene's friendships are really weird. Anyways, Marlo asked about Portia. And she jokes that Portia's new house is bigger than Nene's, and that was funny to me. But anyway, Cynthia brings Derek J, and Derek J is slightly offended that it's a girls and gays party, because it's similar to asking all your white friends to bring their token black friend, which I can see. But anyways, Sheree comes in with Kim, and Kim is already throwing shade. I have never been a fan of Kim, ever in the history of ever. Is she entertaining? Kind of. Her and Nene together are very entertaining, I will say. But I've never liked Kim as a person. Something about her is, in a way, she's very similar to Sheree in that she wants to have the look of opulence and you know, being rich and that kind of stuff. but with the inability to actually work for that, the money that makes a person wealthy or rich, I've really never liked Kim. But anyway, Kim is already being messy, talking about the temperature in the house or whatever. And Sheree gets worse dressed. Everybody came there in a white outfit that was pretty nice. And Sheree came in with like a cutoff t-shirt with a dog carrying a bone on it. Anyways, Lisa Wu is there, and they all sit down in the air conditioning and talk about stuff, and Marlo brings up Kenya's new husband and asking when are we going to meet him, and Sheree is like, well, none of us have met him yet. And then Kim starts it by saying that her husband doesn't exist, and Kenya did a good job of not responding at first, but then Kim just kept harping on it. He doesn't exist, he's invisible, he's a ghost, all the things that I've been saying. But I don't know Kenya. I'm not gonna say this stuff to, well, I would probably say this up to her face. But Kenya is not my friend in a situation to where, or I don't have mutual friends with Kenya, to where I would keep harping on something to deliberately poke the bear, like Cynthia was saying. But anyways, they start going back and forth because Kenya finally gets agitated enough to speak up against Kim. And so they talk about gender reassignment. They talk about fake hair, boobs, and butts. We talk about who is obsessed with who, who's lying, who has a botched surgery. And then finally, Kenya says that Kim pimps out her daughter for John Legend tickets. And that's when everybody felt like it went too far. And while talking about someone's children should be off limits, I feel like we should have the same standards for people who talk about other women's reproductive health. Talking about someone's child is, to me, the same as talking about someone's inability to have children. So I feel like they're kind of even on that, but I feel like because Kenya did it in the company of a bunch of people at a party, that Kim has more of a reasonable reason to be upset and outraged by the comment. So anyways, Kim gets up because she's trying to fight Kenya, and she feels like Kenya has gone too far with her comments on her daughter. But whatever, that's the end, guys. This was, like I said, the very first time of the season that we see a little bit of excitement going. We see a little bit of backstabbing going on. We see a little bit of arguments and close confrontation. So hopefully the next season, hopefully the next episode will be better. Typically I do a next time on Real Housewives thing, but for whatever reason I didn't catch it this time, so I'm not even gonna bother and go back and do it. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you to everyone who has been subscribing, who has been sticking around, and just thank you guys for supporting my channel. I really do appreciate it. Thanks guys. Peace out, home slices.